July 13, 1931 is a historical date of great significance to Kashmir and Kashmiri Muslims in particular. It's a date when, in my view, Kashmiri nation was born, because this is a date where uh, all sections of the Kashmiri Muslim society kind of gathered together and participated in what a philosopher like Alan Badu would call a historical riot. This was a critical event, because it allowed Kashmiris across the society to acknowledge and understand the oppressive forces of the Hindu rule that had kept them down since 1846, when the British sold Kashmir to the Dogra Hindu Maharajas. There are micro histories of the event, what particularly led to July 13 riot, which is related to the trial or mistrial of a man who had been accused by the government forces of inciting trouble in Kashmir. But as an anthropologist, I believe that there were broader forces at play. And one of them was the oppressive nature of the regime that had been controlling Kashmir. Kashmir was under almost like a totalitarian Hindu state, which denied Kashmiri Musliman or Muslim their dignity, their right to free livelihood. They were like heavy taxation policies. Kashmiris were actively denied education. Kashmiri Musliman could not bear arms, for instance, for self-defense. And Kashmiri Muslim had been reduced to the position of chattel slavery over the previous 70 years. So that was the main reason why people kind of gathered in Srinagar and other major towns at that time to protest. The protests were brutally, cut down by the government forces, which led to further escalation of protests. The event was quite significant because it unleashed numerous political forces in Kashmir, and that's why I say that it produced the Kashmiri nation, because this was the first time that mass protests began in Kashmir, that new political parties emerged, new political formations and resistance groups emerged in Kashmir, and a variety of political forces influenced by global events, of course. Some of them were nationalists, some of them were like communists, some of them socialist, or adopted Islamic or Muslim kind of idiom. But all of them together kind of give significance to July 13, 1931. Before 2019 even, and especially after 1947, the events of July 13, 1931 were appropriated by the new Kashmiri Muslim elite, who sort of collaborated with the Indian state, which had annexed Kashmir in October 1947. Especially the National Conference, its governments kind of turned July 13, 1931 into a state holiday. They were already kind of trying to sort of erase the insurrectionary, the protest kind of like interpretation of these events. Because these events were not a result of elites fighting the Dogras. These were ordinary Kashmiris, artisans, peasantry, fighting the oppressive rulers. So it had kind of already been misappropriated by the collaborator regimes in Kashmir. But still, there was some semblance that across Kashmir, people identified with this event, continued to identify with the event. And after 2019, of course, the Hindu nationalist regime that had come to power in India, they had always wanted Kashmir do not remember this event. I mean, in fact, the Hindu nationalists in Jammu had for years been trying to claim that the Maharaja's rule had been benign and he had been maligned by the Kashmiri Muslims, his subjects. And so they wanted to kind of rescue the image and the history of the Dogra rule. But they had not been successful because in Kashmir, aside from the state appropriation of this day, ordinary Kashmiris and pro-freedom activists always remembered the insurrectionary part of the July 13, 1913. That's why it was a day of hartal or shutdown and not a state holiday for Kashmiri Muslims. And of course, the Hindu nationalists would like Kashmiris not only to forget themselves as a political community with the right to freedom and independence. They would like Kashmiris to forget themselves as a people. And as I said at the very beginning, July 13, 1931 is that great event, critical event that made Kashmiri Muslims into a people as a political nation, a political community with a claim to right to freedom and right to independence and right to dignified life.